Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds, the podcast dedicated to hearing out both sides of the political spectrum. Our usual guests, Ryan and Josh, brothers but sworn frenemies in so many ways.
Hey, we're both wearing like gray today, Josh. I don't know what that means. We're just going to
We're all
agree
going to
the whole
come in
time.
very neutral on this whole thing. Yeah, it's okay. I don't feel strongly about it.
I'm lukewarm. Tonight we're going to be talking about Iran, right? Plenty to talk about there. The war in Iran and all that's associated with that. Should be a good one. A word from our sponsor, Lux Bidets. All big fans of bidets.
I increasingly I don't know if I should even say this, right? I know that my son is definitely using the bidet now. I've won him over.
I was just going to bring this up.
Yeah.
Does he have his own bathroom?
Well, I mean, there are two bathrooms, and one's in the master bedroom, right? So that's kind of ours, but he uses it all the time. It's fine. But then he has a bathroom right outside his room,
and it's got one.
The bidet is loud enough. And we live in a small house that when he turns it on, I can hear it. So I know he's using the bidet.
It's been on a while there, buddy.
All right. So on the similar vein, I was going to bring this up. That's so funny. My younger son has started to use it. He's been using it for a couple of weeks. And last week, he'd taken a shower in the morning and got home from school. He's in the bathroom, and all of a sudden he's getting in the shower. When he comes out a little chagrin, I'm like, "Why'd you shower? You showered this morning." The bidet got away from me. I got my shirt wet.
The bidet got away from me.
I'm not exactly sure how he managed it, but no, he did the responsible thing and got in the shower. Well, proud of him. There's a learning curve. We'll put the disclaimer. There's a learning curve for the bidet.
It's a pretty small curve, but
yes, mostly a tactile learning curve. But
yeah.
Anyway, continuing on.
Right. Get yourself a Lux bidet.
Well, okay. Well, let's say if you've been living in a hole in under a rock somewhere, the U.S. bombed Iran. Killed the Ayatollah, and I think they've even killed the meeting where they were going to get a new Ayatollah. They bombed that and killed a bunch of them.
That was hilarious. I'm sorry if it's morbid, but that's hilarious. That the 88 clerics, I think it was, their high clerics or whatever, they all gathered together to nominate a new supreme leader. And they get blown to bits right before we jumped on. I was watching an Onion video, and it had the new Ayatollah. He's up there, death to America for doing this, and then he blows up. And then it had the new Ayatollah doing the same thing, and then the fourth new one. He's like, I just joined the government a week ago. Somebody just handed me this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, please don't kill me.
We should tell every people we're recording this on March 5th, and I think we're on day 6 of the war.
6, yeah.
Right.
It's day 6 of the war.
Very much an evolving situation.
Yes.
Right.
So there's a lot going on, but yes, they day 1 they killed it was the first attack, and I don't know if you caught this. So just quick clarification, it was Israel who did it. Right.
Yeah.
So they used our intelligence, but it was Israel who actually supposedly pressed the button on that one and dropped the bomb on the Ayatollah.
Correct. That is correct. Yes, I was going to correct that. And but yeah, there's basically I was reading something that the U.S. and Israel have two different agendas, but on this one they are aligned, and so we're kind of working in tandem on we're supporting and they're supporting, and we're blowing up ships, and they're launching very precise bombings to kill political opponents. But and I think the latest thing that I think is worth mentioning is I just read an article saying the Kurds are getting involved and are something about we're on board, we're going to help, and so I don't know what that means, right? So that's not sure. And I read that they've started ground offensive, but I don't know what to what extent or how big of a deal that is. Anyway, lots going on.
Interesting. I hadn't heard about the Kurds. They're generally pretty dang good fighters. So we'll see what their intent is.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation because there are Kurds. I mean, they're an ethnic group, right?
Yeah.
In both Iraq and Iran, and then of course other areas there. So
Syria and Turkey,
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with that, but anyway, so where do you guys want to start?
Well, okay. I mean, we can dive into plenty of stuff, but like, there's, sorry, I think I'm slowing down for a second.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your picture's slow, but we could hear you. Yeah.
All right. I think there's the obvious like political reaction to this, right? And it's interesting because, and I'm going to be pretty neutral because there's videos of Trump saying if Obama bombs Iran, he's the stupidest guy alive or something like that.
I love that you mentioned this and I didn't have to mention this. Agreement. Yeah. Episode's over. We're done. We're done. That's it.
Right. So it's this
it's hypocritical.
Where,
it's very hypocritical.
Oh, yeah, no, totally hypocritical. And
I can push back
I'll let. I do feel like it's like whatever. If it's your side, then it's a great thing, and if it's the other side, then it's a bad thing, right? It's we're doing this thing, right? And it's like, and yeah, I feel like we did it with Venezuela because there's all the lines of Venezuela, like, wow, he's the worst guy, we should take him out, like Democrats, right? And then we trick him out, and they're like, oh, that was like, why did Trump do that? And you're just like, okay, whatever. And I feel like it's the same thing again. So I don't know, right? Like, yeah. So that's been interesting to see that. But like, yeah, Ryan, you already started. Do you want to comment any more on that, and then go to Josh?
Just real quick. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So I didn't have to bring that up. That he has straight up said, right? I mean, there's so many like hypocritical components there, which I know most people apparently don't care about hypocrisy. It seems to really bother me. But the other one that I think is fascinating is Trump ran out a platform of like no new wars, right? I'm going to get us out of the wars. I'm not going to start any wars. Yeah. What's his track record on this, right? Like we're officially at war.
Can you really call it a war?
Anybody? We're talking thousands of Iranians have died. American soldiers have died, right? So we're now
up to 6.
Yeah, we're now up to at least 6, and we've got other people throughout the Middle East who are dying.
Can you call it a war? It really seems
they're calling it a war, Josh. Why are you not calling it a war?
Well, it seems like you have 2 high school kids that found a kindergartner and just punching the crap out of him to get his lunch money. Like,
okay, but that kindergartner also happens to have an Uzi and is randomly shooting at other kids in the school. I mean,
well, and that's something I want to bring up. He's not really like he's trying to fight back, but he's just killing other people.
Yeah, he's killing everybody else, right? So
I'm gonna get to that. I mean, yes, technically we're at war. Doesn't seem very fair.
Whether it's a fair war or not, right? We're still at war.
It's just hard to call it a war.
I guess technically the only thing that doesn't make it a war, and hopefully we'll come back to this, is the fact that the United States hasn't officially declared war because our House and our Senate are a bunch of fucking pussies who will not stand up to this president, and they just keep giving him all of their power, right? So both of the motions to curtail his war powers were destroyed in the House and the Senate today. So, yeah.
What is this a good thing or a bad thing? What we've done?
The war with Iran? Josh.
Well, I don't know. I've gone back and forth for 5 days now. There's a lot of good things. Like these were terrible people.
Give me. I want both of you to give me some pros and cons. That's what I want.
Oh, that's easy. Because the hard question for me is was this the right thing to do? I don't know. Pros. You said at the beginning that Israel had used our intelligence to figure out where Khameini was and kill him.
Yep.
I had heard a report today, don't know if it's true, that Iran had a very sophisticated surveillance network to track mostly women and make sure they weren't showing their hair. So if they were, they could go out and stone them to death, right? Or to go and kill all of these protesters that were protesting the government. That's what the report said. And then it said that the United States had hacked their surveillance system to find Khameini. If that's true, I love the irony.
If that's true, that is actually pretty awesome.
It's amazing,
I have to admit.
That this douchebag, like, these are bad people. That they what they're doing with the missiles that they do have, they're just shooting them in every direction. And I'll get back to that on why that's happening. They don't care who they kill. They just don't care. They'll kill anybody. These are animals. They're okay. They're okay with child brides, right?
Because they were like hit a was it what was it? They like hit a hotel in, was it Dubai or Saudi Arabia? I don't know. So they're just, I don't know if they meant to hit the hotel.
Yeah, they're shooting airports.
If it was just a random shot, I don't know.
But
yeah, they're not military targets.
Yeah, and there was a report that a school got hit by a missile, and immediately Iran was saying, "Oh, it was the Americans," and all of the intel is pointing towards it was one of their own missiles. So either they did that on purpose to try to
hit an Iranian school.
Yeah, they killed like 130 school children, which is horrific, right? But it looks like they did it themselves, either by incompetence or that's just a good op-ed for them, because they don't care about, like, that wouldn't surprise anybody in the world that they killed a bunch of kids to try to say, oh, look how evil Trump is, right? These are bad dudes, and they're all being taken out. I love that. These are it wasn't just Khameini. They got Ahmadinejad. That dude's a total douchebag. They got the 88 high clerics who are all hardline psychopaths, right? They're wiping out the whole regime. That's great. Like, the less bad people that are okay with child brides in the world, can't argue with that. That's fantastic. So that's a pro for me, right? I'll swap it back to you. We can go back and forth here.
I don't think it's really debatable that the Ayatollah was a brutal dictator, right? I mean, I think that's just that's clear.
Empirically clear.
Yeah, like just like that's an empirical fact. So I'm not really going to ever feel bad when a brutal dictator is removed from power, right? Do I think blowing up a whole bunch of people is necessarily the right way to do it? No, but he was a brutal dictator, right? He slaughtered thousands and thousands of his people, has imprisoned his political enemies for years, has imprisoned anybody who wants democracy. So I mean, it's a brutal regime. That there's no question about that. So the positive is that at least one brutal dictator is out of office, right? Dead. So that's a positive. I'm totally conceding that is a positive. I just worry about all the negatives that come with this.
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah, Josh, do you want to go back to you, Josh?
Pro and negative. How do you want to do that?
Yeah, I want to hear the negatives.
Okay, so a big negative that Ryan's alluding to right here. He just said blowing a bunch of people up is not the best way for regime change, and largely I agree with that. Okay, we saw in the Arab Spring, Hillary Clinton and Obama, they removed Gaddafi in Libya. Not a great dude, but what happened to Libya? Turned into an absolute hellscape, right?
Yep.
You had brutal warlord militia leaders that moved into the power vacuum, and lots of, all the sane people left. They had to flee the country, and even Gaddafi was not a good guy, but Libya had a decent economy for Northern Africa. Now it's shambles, right? Same thing happened in Iraq. We didn't like Saddam Hussein. He was largely just fighting Iran, keeping our two enemies in check. Bad dude, killing his own people. We moved in and got rid of Saddam. What happened to Iraq? Same
Disaster.
thing. What happened in Afghanistan? We spent billions of dollars.
Trillions of
dollars. We left $80 billion worth of equipment there. Thousands of troops died. Hundreds of thousands of their side died. Afghanis died.
Civilians died. Yep.
The week we pulled out, the entire country was taken back over by
the Taliban.
the Taliban. Like, these regime changes.
We're really successful at this.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and this
I
is
hope all of our listeners caught my sarcasm there. It was pretty thick. We suck at regime change.
This is my question. Ryan said, I don't know if blowing up a bunch of people is the best way to do a regime change. What is? How do what do you do in these situations? I don't know if I agree with going after Gaddafi and Hussein. This guy, if he had a nuke, he would have used it on Israel or us. Like, we probably did need to get rid of this regime. These are bad dudes, and they're insane.
And I'm not saying that they're good people. I've already conceded like that's absolutely true. I don't like them. I don't like what they were doing. I think they were a brutal regime. Absolutely. Who's going to take over next? And here's the tricky part.
Yeah, that's
when they asked Trump who's coming in next, right? What was his response? Well, we killed the person we thought we were going to put in, so can't do that now, right? And it's like, dude, seriously? This is what we've like. Way to plan this, guys, right? Like top level planning.
I don't think he really cares.
No, I don't think he does either. And that's like, there's no end vision. Like, what's the end game here?
Sure.
And he's kind of like, oh yeah, rise up, people, take over, right? How'd that work in Libya? How'd that work in Iraq, right? It's not a good plan. It's an invitation to warlords to basically take over the country and rape and pillage and aggregate power and abuse, and you're just going to get more brutal dictators, right? Like,
well, so let me pose the question, because I agree with Ryan, right? I brought it up. Like, this, when you do a regime change, it's pretty easy for us because we're so powerful to go and wipe out a government. We go wipe out pretty well any government, right? We tried in Iraq and Afghanistan to facilitate a regime change. It's a nightmare. We were there for a long time. I actually prefer this solution. Like, if we decide they have to go, blow them up and just like put up a big banner and said, do better this time or we'll be back. Like, I think that's better than us trying to facilitate the regime change, because we don't understand their culture. We don't understand their society. When we go in and try to make them American and say, here's freedom, a lot of these countries don't want it. So,
well, I don't know about that, but they haven't ruled out boots on the ground, from what I've heard.
That we can talk about it at the end. If we do put boots on the ground, that's a disaster.
Tom,
okay,
we've been talking. It's your turn. Come on, tell us some.
Well, okay, this is something I've been thinking about, and that was that I can't remember if I said it on our podcast or if it was one of our conversations, Ryan. But like when we were hiking or something. But I remember saying this very distinctly. This had to have been like 4 or 5 years ago, and we were talking about Afghanistan, we're talking about Iraq, right, and these wars and how they were kind of messy and stuff like that. And I said, I think the way we do it is you don't put boots in the ground. But if you got someone you don't like, you just blow them up with a missile, and you just like take them out. And it's interesting because that we've just done that twice, right? We like kidnapped one and we just blew one up. And I think we're still waiting to see, even in Venezuela, right? We're waiting to see like how this is going to play out, right? And I don't like, honestly, from the amount of like money we've spent, resources and American lives, pretty minimal, right? Pretty minimal. I would say from execution of your goal. Yeah, we accomplished it with like, and that wasn't too bloody or too bad. I don't know. I'm having interesting, like, I have these epiphanies about like, I don't think like the modern prosperity of America comes from the free markets. You don't control free markets. And I think that's the rule of free markets, is you're not supposed to control them. And the more you'll notice in the last 2 decades, we are manipulating our markets more and more to try and get an outcome, which is not, that actually ends up getting you worse results. Right. And I think this is the same of the world, right? We shouldn't be manipulating it and trying to control it to get outcomes we want. We should let things happen. And if we have enemies, we should just deal with our enemies. But like, I think they should organically resolve themselves, right? Like, I'm going to guess you were both. I mean, I'm going to talk about this in a second of like if you were in support of the uprisings, right? Like the Iranian uprising just a few months ago. But like, I want to talk about that next. But yeah, I was cheering for that to see if that would happen. It looks like Iran crushed it, which they've done in the past. And so, was this a best result? I have no idea. There's going to be consequences from it, right? There definitely will be. And so I'm very neutral on this. I'm not sure which way to go. But let's talk about
largely the same.
Let's talk about the protests.
What you're saying there. Well, let me just jump on that real quick because I feel largely the same. Do we have a recent example in the last 50 years of a successful regime change that we orchestrated, or just a whole bunch of failed ones? I mean, there probably is one, but like Bay of Pigs, like there's a lot of bad examples of how we tried to do regime changes, and it was always.
Are you Googling this right now, Ryan?
I am.
Good, look it up. Osama bin Laden, right? We paid that guy a lot of money to fight the Russians, and then what happened? Turned around
and turned on us.
He turned on us pretty bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Tom. If we have an enemy, all right, I guess we got to deal with it. Like Iran, if left unchecked, and I would like to talk about this in a minute, they would have been a serious problem. So it's probably a good idea to wipe them out. I don't know that. Yeah, if we put boots on the ground and try to orchestrate a regime change, somebody friendly to the U.S., I agree with Tom. I don't think it's going to work. We're not good at that. We don't understand how to do it.
Wow. So this may be the worst response by ChatGPT ever. I asked it for successful examples of regime change in the last 50 years, and here's what it listed. Afghanistan, successful. Iraq, successful. Panama, successful. Libya, successful. Serbia, successful. And I'm like, technically, I guess what it means is we did kill the current leader.
We did change
the regime. Yeah.
Pretty low bar.
I guess my question wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then did the countries become democracies?
That resulted in a stable country. Yeah.
So, oops, I asked the wrong question.
You need to qualify that query a little.
That's funny.
Oh boy.
All right, moving on. Tom, what did you want to go to next? The protests?
Yeah, I want to talk about the protests. What were you in support of it? I'm going to guess you're both going to say yes. I don't, but so I'm trying to, feather out like more of a response there, just like because clearly this is, and it was like it was was it the Arab Spring that they also tried? This was like a decade
they do it
ago.
Every other year. It's like an every other year thing in Iran. So 2 years ago there were big protests. Part of the reason I know, I mean, I'm not trying to out anybody. I have a pretty good friend, used to work at my university, was a staff member, and has since moved. I stay in touch with him. He's from Iran, like directly immigrated from Iran, still has family there. I talk to him regularly, and whenever there are these flare-ups, like I'll text him and we'll talk. And I have a faculty member, colleague in my department who is also from Iran and has family there. So every time this comes up, I'm checking in with them. I'm like, hey, is your family okay? During these most recent protests, we were literally in the meeting, in the middle of a department meeting. And she got up because I'd asked, I was like, hey, what's going on? They blacked out all telecommunications. So she had no idea what was going on with her family for like 3 weeks.
Right.
Can you imagine being in that? Like, it's horrific.
Just having no idea.
Yeah. Right. So she pops up in the middle of our meeting and leaves. Right. And I'm just like, you do you, whatever. Comes back in 5 minutes later and says, my family's alive.
Cool.
Right.
Right. And like that's the situation. So it's kind of terrifying. But yes, this does happen like every other year. It's fairly regular in Iran that people try
ever
to protest.
Since this Islamic regime took over, like the next
1979.
year, within a year or two, people were like, "Oh, this is not what we thought we were getting. This is pretty bad." And immediately, as soon as they started doing the uprisings,
I did hear. It was a podcast I was listening to yesterday, maybe today or yesterday. They had an Iran expert who was estimating, so it's just a best guess, that about 80% of Iranians hated the regime. There's 20% who supported the regime.
And they were probably some kind of beneficiary of it.
Yeah, they're like, military
employed or something.
That's another huge pro, because I've seen videos of crowds of people all over the world and in Iran of people cheering as soon as they found out Khameini was dead. That's a pretty big pro. A lot of these people do not like that dude.
Well, and I heard it was 20,000 civilians that were killed in this last uprising, right?
Well, it's higher than I've heard. I've heard 6,000, but I mean, could be as high as 20,000. I don't know how many died, but the number I keep hearing is 6,000.
Okay,
and still pretty insane.
That's a lot, yeah.
Right, and then these are all probably estimates, but because it was because they've had some significant uprisings and they've never been able to get traction. And Iran clearly has some. It was like it's like this young this guard group, right? And they're running around the motorcycles, and I guess they're just pretty brutal and they crack down hard, but they've been able to just clamp down on these every time. And we just and you're just like, wow, that's tough, right? Like what I imagine myself and like what you do there, right? With just a brutal regime, like how would you deal with that?
If you don't have guns and they do, there's not much you can do. There just isn't.
You have to have tons and tons of you, right?
And you have to all be prepared to die because you're going to get mowed down.
Exactly. Yep.
And it looks like what happened. They just didn't have enough of them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that group is called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or in Iranian, it's Basij.
Hopefully they're all
mobilization of the oppressed. That's a very good, like, what is it, 1984, like double speak. Yeah. Mobilization of the oppressed, like mobilization to kill the oppressed.
To oppress, yeah. Right.
Yeah. A little bit weird, but okay. Yeah. So.
How interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys heard this. I've heard from several different sources. There's been a Christian wake up call in Iran. Like tens of thousands of people have been dreaming about Jesus and converting from Islam, and that directly led to this latest round of the insurrection. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that from a couple different places. So hearing that, like, oh, cool, maybe they're going to overthrow this, and then finding out tens of thousands of them get killed, pretty depressing, pretty sad. But yeah, it's interesting. Not sad that these douchebags are gone. That's for sure. I have on my mission, I taught this guy. We weren't allowed to baptize Muslims. And this guy we taught was from Iran. And as soon as we started teaching him, the Iranian embassy sent people to follow him around. They would call him at night and threaten to murder his family. They revoked his visa, like all sorts of bad stuff just started happening to this guy because he was meeting with the missionaries. He had a dream. His grandfather visited him and told him he should convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so he wanted to get baptized. And we couldn't get permission to baptize him because he would have been killed. Like, he would have been killed. They were threatening him. They said, if you get baptized, you're dead. We'll kill your whole family. This is the Iranian regime. This is how they treated, their immigrants in other countries. This is how their embassies work. These are not good people.
Right. Well, and there's all sorts of things like the women, right? The women's rights were pretty much in the toilet.
They had no rights.
Yeah, and even just like walking around and with their
hair
out uncovered, was
punishable offense. Yes.
Yeah, pretty severely too. So that's right. So all sorts of oppression there. Right. So it's like, what happens now, right?
Well, so here's some of my talking points. We can kind of get back to the pros and cons thing. Representative Massey, who I generally like, he's like the only guy in the government that stands up to Trump. He's very against the war. And he had a speech today where he said, we just turned the Ayatollah into a martyr, and this is going to turn a whole new generation of radicals into terrorists. What are your thoughts on that? Because I don't know. That has happened in the past when we've done this. That's what happened in Iraq when we went in, but for different reasons. Because when we initially went into Iraq, the people were pretty dang happy because they hated Saddam. It was how when the military was running Iraq initially, it was really good. People were happy. We rolled over them. It was no problem. It was when the politicians showed up and started running the country and completely disenfranchised all of the military-aged males because they said, "Oh, you worked for Saddam or you were a soldier. You know, you're screwed. No jobs for you." Well, yeah, that's why it turned into an insurgency, right? And I could go further into that. It's an interesting situation. I don't know that that's going to happen here if we don't put boots on the ground and actively screw with these people's lives. 80% of them are pretty happy the dude's gone, right? So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think Ryan and I both could agree that ideal, I don't know if I'd call it an ideal situation, but like the best of the worst situations would be that the people could have successfully risen up and overthrown the government. Right. And it was be like, this is like, okay, no, we did this on our own. We killed the Ayatollah, but it was the Iranians instead of like, oh, the good old colonialists, the USA went in and wiping regimes out. Right. When even though the goal was shared, right, by but like I said, most Iranians would have been in support of that. I assume we're in agreement, Ryan. Like that would have been great.
Well, they tried. They couldn't do it.
Well, yes.
I got a follow-up question.
Yeah, it would have been preferred. Here's the really tricky part. Iran is Shia. It's not Sunni. And I don't know how much you guys know about the distinction, but it's all over who kind of inherits the mantle of authority in Islam from Muhammad. So Sunni kind of goes through a generational lineage of descendants, but Shia is based on martyrdom. So Iran is a Shia Islam country, right? So its whole premise is that like it's all about martyrdom. So
scary.
Yeah.
Scary foe.
So what did we just do?
Right.
We just made a martyr, right?
Yes.
And like literally, this is the core aspect, like why Shia and Sunni Islam is so different is like that lineage thing, and it's all about who was, the successor to Muhammad, and it was a martyr. They have an annual celebration to celebrate the death of martyrs in Islam. To what extent, like people in Iran are going to treat, the leader who just died as a martyr? I know a lot of them didn't like him, so maybe it won't happen. But there's a very real probability that we just fed into their eschatology, right? Their theological perspective, that we've just created a martyr.
I heard an interesting quote from on Steven Crowder's podcast. He said, these people have no problem dying. They have no problem being martyrs. The worst thing you can do to them is embarrass them. So it's actually kind of a good thing that we've been so forceful and just completely shellacked them. And because that might be the better thing. And that's not what that was his quote. What I'm saying now is me. It might be the best outcome that we completely just lopped the head off the snake and like completely smashed it because it made them look bad, made them look incompetent. Maybe that'll be enough of an embarrassment to eclipse the martyrdom. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say there. It's an interesting idea.
Well, like when I was reading about the Israeli spy network blowing up the pagers of the Hezbollah,
that was the coolest thing ever.
I mean, like that's like, oh dang, like you brought a knife to a gunfight kind of thing. Like these guys got you bad, and it's like I'd be rethinking, everything. I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do. I think we're a little outmanned here. Like we're outclassed.
Well, that's the problem. They don't mind dying.
Right.
Okay, they do. They do.
I had some questions. Like one of them was, would you guys support? Would you have been supportive of the U.S. militarily supporting the uprising a few months ago, by the Iranians?
What would that look like? So it's tricky, right? And I appreciate the question. So I'm not trying to skirt the question. When that uprising happened, right? So there were a lot of protests. Trump kept saying like, "Hey, if you guys, if the Iranian regime doesn't listen to him, we're gonna back him." And I'm like, okay, and now the uprising's over, right? It ended several weeks ago. Thousands of people died, and now we're attacking, right? And it's like the timing's pretty shit, dude. Like, you missed it.
Well,
But I'm also
yeah,
wondering, like, what would it have looked like? What can we
right.
do? Because if we start dropping bombs, I mean, this is the tricky part about what we're doing right now. Tehran is a city of 10 million people, right? It's a
Yeah,
massive city. And we're dropping bombs in the middle of the city. And I get it. It's complicated, right? Yes, we're bombing military bases, but a lot of the military or a lot of the government buildings and military buildings are just in the middle of residential neighborhoods in Tehran. So we're dropping bombs on buildings and it's blowing out the windows of nearby buildings. It's killing other
yeah.
people. They
Sure.
knocked
There's
out like
collateral
all the
damage.
electricity to a hospital with a bunch of babies who are intubated, right? Like it's complicated what we're doing. So I don't mean to like take away from like, yeah, terrible regime. I totally appreciate the question. I just wonder what would it look like for us to try and support the uprising militarily.
Well, I guess I would flip it around and be like, well, what would you have been supportive of, right? Because yes, there is a whole spectrum of like, you know, drop shipping a bunch of guns, right? Or us, because like, what if we had blown up? What if we had done these missiles 3 weeks or
Sure.
2 months ago, right? Right in the middle of this protesting,
That's
like,
my take. I thought we were going to, but logistically, that's the issue. Iran does have, or they did have, a military defense. We didn't have carrier strike groups in place. We didn't have the infrastructure in place to carry out this attack. And this attack has been brilliant from a military standpoint. So if we had somehow anticipated the uprising and we had the assets in place and we had done this during the uprising, amazing. But Ryan, like what Ryan said, the timing was wrong. I believe this attack was facilitated by the uprisings. I think that's why things started
I
moving.
think that's when the ship started. Yeah,
I think
started
so.
moving out.
I'm pretty sure that's what I was seeing. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what was happening. It was just they crushed the uprising too quickly. If the uprising could have kept going for a couple more weeks, that's a different story. If we could have gone in and taken out the military this precisely, while the uprising was ongoing, that might have been a completely different calculation. Like they might have already taken over the country. I don't know. That's in my mind.
Maybe.
That's what it would have looked like.
So let me throw out a different scenario because I mean it's not like we haven't done this before. What if instead of sending in our military, we sent in the CIA and started secretly funneling in arms to the protesters, right? And
Yeah,
training them.
right.
I mean, we've done this, right? Clearly, we did this in
yeah.
Afghanistan during the 1980s, and it brought down the Russian invasion, which was weird. We didn't bring down the Afghanistan regime, right? We actually were supporting them against the Russians. So our CIA is fully capable of sneaking into a country, arming and training the civilians, and leading an uprising to help overthrow a government. Would that have been more effective? Because again, to your point, Josh, right? Like, I don't know that we don't understand their culture. I think at some level we do understand their culture. We don't agree with their culture, but we don't understand it, right? So you're saying we don't understand it. I think we do, but external forces trying to force regime change doesn't work very well, right? It's just not very effective. If it was an internal movement and we had helped fund it, and the tricky part is there's always going to be strings attached if we do that, right? So if our CIA goes in and funds their, opposition forces, we're going to expect a bit of a quid pro quo when it's over. I mean, we're certainly doing that right now. I mean, to Tommy's point, right? He's like, you put in a leader, we don't like him, we blow him up. And then we're like, now try again. And if we don't like that leader, we blow him up, right? Like, that's still basically us saying, if you don't do what we want, we're going to keep killing you. Is that really the right approach here? I mean, I think that's a bit problematic. I think our best case scenario is put in somebody who can just get along with everybody else, right? We don't necessarily have to agree with you. You don't necessarily have to like denationalize your oil and make it so we can come in and pillage your country again. Just put in somebody who's not a brutal dictator and we'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like at the very, you're not trying to destroy us, right? Like
That was what I was laughing about. The bar literally is put in somebody that isn't chanting "Death to America" at all your rallies. We might be okay with that. Like we're pretty tolerant. A lot of people like to say that we're bloodthirsty and we go in and do these regime changes. Usually, I mean, for the most part, America's kind of like just leave our business interests alone and don't try to kill our people, and you can do your thing. look how reticent we were to go into Iran. And these people have been chanting death to America for 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, we finally had enough of that.
Well,
that's the bar. Don't put in that guy.
I mean, we've left Kim Jong-un alone, right? And it's like,
he has nuclear
why?
weapons. He has nuclear weapons.
And I would like to seg.
Oh, he does. He has nuclear weapons.
Let's seg into that as soon as we're done with this topic. That I want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did see a meme. This is funny side thing of like Kim Jong Un, and he's on the phone. And he's like, "Hey, Trump, we good? We good, bro? We good? Like, don't blow me up."
Yeah. Well, if we want to keep Alaska and California, which I don't know, maybe they don't. So one of the things that I've been hearing just in the last couple of days, and it's interesting because Trump's denying it, so now I think it's probably true, is that Israel is basically who forced our hand. So I was literally on the way home today from work. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about this, and they said Netanyahu for the last 40 years. I mean, the dude doesn't seem to ever like get out of office. Horribly corrupt and another horribly corrupt politician, but he's had this plan to attack Iran for the last 40 years. And every single president who comes in, I don't think it's 40 years, but every single president who's come in the 21st century, he's approached them and said like, "Hey, we want to attack Iran. Can you come help us? We can't do it alone. Like, can you help us?
It'd be so cool."
Yeah. Like, come on, dude. Like, we'll push the first button, but like, you got to back us up, right? And he tried it with like Obama and with Bush and with Biden and even with Trump 1. He kept trying it, right? And from what they were saying, it sounds like Israel was basically saying, "We're going to do it, right? We think they're weak enough at this point. We're going to do it." And that forced the U.S. to go, "All right, fine, we'll do it." So that's a claim that's coming out. I don't know if that's definitive. The fact that Trump denied it makes me think that it probably is true.
I think it's so Marco Rubio kind of said that, and I believe it's been horribly taken out of context. Okay, he said something along the lines of Israel was going in, so we're like, all right, let's go in. But all of the detractors of the war and the detractors of the president immediately went, "Oh, they're just Israel's puppets. Israel told them to do it, so that's why we're in this war. We're fighting Israel's war." It's a jump. That's a jump.
Are we fighting Israel's war?
No, they chant death to Israel and death to America. Okay, and let's go into this.
But where is the real threat? Iran has a real threat against Israel, and they've been attacking Israel since Israel took over, right?
Something else Rubio said.
Well, since 1979. So
he said the missile production in Iran. They make a lot of short-range missiles. They make them very quickly, and we've gone in before and disrupted their missile-making capability. They immediately rebuild it because their goal is to turn their missiles into a shield. This is what Rubio said. And if they can lash out and do enough damage, then nobody will attack them. And initially, I was like, well, that's a weird thing to say. Their missiles are a shield. Then you look at what they've done with their missiles since we've attacked. What did they do?
Throwing them everywhere.
They just lashed out to all their neighbors, shooting them at the hospitals and airports and whatever was within
I've
range.
been in the airport in Dubai. I've been to Dubai, so I know the places they're blowing up. I've been in those.
They're
hotels.
Just shooting. They're shooting these missiles, right?
Yep.
This is why the analog of Kim Jong in North Korea is accurate. If he gets all uppity and starts doing crazy stuff, we're way less likely to go in and mess with him because he has nukes and he's crazy enough. He might use them, right? He might blow Seoul off the map, right? He
might blow San Francisco off the map. His missiles can reach the U.S. That's why we're not going to touch him.
Okay. So there is something to be said about being proactive in this situation because these people hate our allies and they clearly hate us. They chant death to America. That's not when people say stuff like that, you should probably listen. Well, so if we would have let them build, and this was Rubio's argument, if we would have let them continue to build this missile stockpile up for another year, even the catastrophic damage they could have wreaked on all of their neighbors might have been too much for us to go in and stop them. And they're on their way to building nukes, and they're like no nuclear country or no country that has enriched uranium to like 20% or 30% has stopped there. They all continue on and build nukes, right? So that I don't know, but it probably is a good thing to be proactive in this situation and stop them from building more armaments, because when they have enough missiles, eventually we're going to be like, okay, it's not worth the price to pay to go in there and stop this, and they're going to have nukes. And then what are these nut jobs going to do with them? It's an interesting argument that Rubio made, and I see some merit to it.
Right, but it sounds to me like a red herring, because you basically just answered the question. Are we fighting Israel's war? Their missiles aren't going to hit us. Their drones aren't going to hit us. Now, I was talking to somebody 4 days ago, right after the war had started. It was on Sunday, and they said they're just waiting for Iran to actually find some way to get somebody into the U.S. and attack us. And I know there was the shooting in Texas that was probably an Iranian thing, right? But they're going to try. I wouldn't be surprised if they try. But everything you just said basically said we're fighting Israel's war, because what are they doing? They're launching their short-range missiles all over the Middle East, hitting everybody, just causing chaos, right? But it's ultimately Israel that they're targeting.
Okay, but if we don't stop their missile program, what happened in North Korea? We didn't stop their missile program. Now they have missiles that can hit us. You just said it.
Yeah.
They can hit San Francisco.
Yep.
Why would Iran stop at short-range missiles if nobody is actively intervening? I don't believe they would. I think they would, as quickly as possible, develop a nuke that could hit the United States. Then they can say, do you really want to mess with us, Trump? Do you really want to mess with us? Because we're crazy. We'll die for what we believe.
But I don't understand why you're not just admitting that we're fighting Israel's war for them.
Because I don't
understand, Ryan, how that's Israel's war. Like, so I read Iran is the #1 sponsor of terrorism, as far as funding and as far as supply.
Yeah, and who are they targeting that terrorism towards?
Israel.
But Israel,
America,
almost 100% Israel.
The coal bombing, they've killed plenty of Americans.
Yeah, there's been plenty, and like Josh was saying, their nuclear program, right? They've been developing it for years and trying to, they've said it's peaceful, but that means
come on, that's fine. I'm not trying to defend their nuclear program,
but like those, I would say the U.S. and Israel agendas line up on this. Is what I would say. I wouldn't say that just because they want it doesn't mean we don't want the same outcomes.
Yeah. You do realize we've entered into a holy war. This is a religious war, and we just entered into a religious war. How do those end? Those don't end well.
Oh, Ryan's calling for genocide.
Any other war.
He wants us to kill him.
No, I'm definitely not saying that, right? I'm saying this is a holy
regular wars are so much better than religious wars.
Okay, so
we have two religions fighting, and we just jumped in. We're like, yeah, we're going to side with the Jews on this one, right?
Well, the Jews aren't chanting death to America.
Sure,
pretty easy to know which side
we gave them
nukes,
join. And we've been supporting them, right? But
okay, so back to the allegations against Rubio that we're fighting Israel's war, based off what he said. I agree with Tom here. If our goals are lined up, and Israel was like, you know what, we're going in. We've had enough. We've seen enough. They're going to have too many missiles soon for us to be able to handle it. We're going in. That's a good time for an allied country who has the same goals to go, well, all right, I guess if they're going in, we might as well. This will be the best time for us to do it too. This will be the best time for us to,
So I'm just going to say we're agreeing. Goals. We're just agreeing. You just don't want to admit the second piece to this, right? So the agreement is Israel started it and forced our hand, right? And you're saying yes, that's true, but it's a win-win. It's a win-win, and it's
we agreed that this is like I'm at a bar and I got my short friend with me, and he's like, I'm gonna go pick a fight with that guy, right? And he's like, you got my back? I'm going.
This is what happened, right? And I'm just saying, he started the fight, and Josh was like, well, but we kind of went with him, right? We didn't like the guy either, so okay.
And we already talked about this.
We're saying the same thing.
Did Bibi Netanyahu start the fight, or was there an uprising, and both him and Trump were like, well, this would be a good time to do what we know we probably need to do?
Who came to the U.S., 2 weeks ago?
Netanyahu.
Netanyahu was in the U.S. 2 weeks ago.
And
what do you think they were talking about? You think they were just shooting the shit?
I'm sure they were talking about it. But I will agree with Josh. We've sent those ships over, like the aircraft carriers. They left almost a month ago, like heading toward the Middle East.
Sure.
And
we were in the middle of talks, right? We were in the middle of talks.
We probably knew where this was going.
Nah,
Trump said it. Trump said it. If you massacre these civilians, we're coming after you. Well, they massacred the civilians.
Yeah,
we couldn't do it then. We didn't have our planes in range at the moment.
We have planes in range for anywhere on the planet at any point in
Dwight
time.
D. Eisenhower, did we have enough planes?
I live 5 miles from CENTCOM, Josh. We can drop bombs on anywhere on the planet today.
Could we 2 months ago? Could we have orchestrated an attack of this sophistication on Iran 2 months ago? The answer is no, Ryan. And no, you're not a military
24
general.
Hours notice, probably.
No.
Well,
oh my gosh, you don't understand military logistics at all. I'm sorry.
It stands to reason that there was a bit of coordinated needed to pull off the Maduro capture, because we were setting up ships for several weeks beforehand,
and that was a small raid with 5 helicopters. This is hundreds of airplanes, hundreds of helicopters, bombers, military naval ships, naval flotillas, and our allies, and coordinating with Israel. This is a very sophisticated attack, and it's been brilliant from a military perspective. So for you to just fly off like that and say, "Oh yeah, we could have done this during the,"
I agree with Josh. I think it did take. It did take some.
You know how many military
an operation like this takes sophistication, takes orchestrating for a bit. I want to throw this one out, and I want to know where you stand, Ryan, because this one's interesting. In support of Ryan's side of this, I did read this interesting. Well, it was like a podcast with a guy, some kind of expert, making the case that Epstein was a spy, and that he was a spy for Israel. Yeah, and you've heard that, Josh?
Yep.
I vaguely heard this just the other day, and I don't know much about it.
Well, he had a number of there was a number of things that he used to support it. I think his reason why he was an Israeli spy was kind of weak. There was an Israeli guy that kept visiting. I can't remember his name or what he was, but they have it's recorded several times, photographs of him entering and leaving Epstein's place. But the reason their support for why he was a spy was there was two things. One, where he was getting his money from. Basically, he was just kind of got rich, and was able to fund all this stuff just because.
That was the most compelling thing to me.
Yeah, but the second one was he was arrested 8 or 9 years ago on child molestation charges and got nothing. Got off almost
20 years ago. Yeah, it was early 2000s. He was arrested. Okay, and put in jail. He was put in jail, so he served time in jail.
On the wrist,
but it was very short.
Yeah, it was light, but he got arrested. He was a convicted sex offender.
No, he did. Yeah, he was convicted. He was, and that people were still hanging out with him afterwards, right? He's like, "Yeah, I just did this little thing," and that was odd.
I think the easier explanation is the one that Josh loves to say, that we have a bunch of horrific sex abusing pedophiles spread throughout the government and among elite corporate America. I think that's actually true now.
Could be both, though.
Well, I don't think he was a spy for Mossad. I don't think he was a spy for Israel. I think the evidence for that is really, really weak. I think we kind of know where he got his money too, right? It was a lot of blackmail. He had dirt on people, and so he would go in and say, "Hey, I'm going to help manage your finances," to billionaires who basically just wanted to diddle little kids. And because he was providing them that, they'd all right, yes, you can help manage these, $10 million or whatever. And they would slot him money. It was basically them giving him money. And yeah, he was fairly smart at a few things financially, and he earned some money to begin with. But then he was basically just getting checks for $7-10 million a year from billionaires and feeding them young women.
No, I swear in our podcast on Epstein, I said that, and you were like, "No, that's not where he got his money." I swear.
No, maybe I said that, but I've seen pretty compelling evidence at this point. We know where he got his money.
Okay, well, to Tom's point, just assuming there's something to that, the timing does line up. If you want to make the allegation, Ryan, and you should be agreeing with Tom because you're alleging that we're fighting Israel's war. Why would we be fighting their war unless Israel had some spies and had a lot of dirt on all of our higher ups? Like the
had some leverage
timing,
on us.
the timing kind of makes sense for that conspiracy theory to maybe have some truth to it, and you should be the one agreeing to that. Because
I don't agree with conspiracy theories.
To give you, a lot of them are true. You didn't agree
then
with.
They're not conspiracy theories.
Okay,
Josh.
you didn't agree with QAnon, and
I know, and none of it's true.
Except we just got the Epstein list, and they're all pedophiles. QAnon had some truth to it.
Nah, whatever.
Did you see the thing where Bill Maher apologized to QAnon?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
and accurate.
And he was like, acknowledging, well, you actually were right on quite a bit of stuff. And he's like, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of pedophiles in the government, it turns out.
Elite government elitists that are molesting children are like, well, that turned out to be fairly accurate.
Yeah. No, I was extending an olive branch here. I actually don't like how friendly we are with Israel. I don't know if that's the way to put it. We should have allies around the world, but it is weird to me how much we fund Israel. Like, we give them billions of dollars. We just give them all of our best military equipment. We do a lot for Israel, and I don't like it, and it's weird to me. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be allies. I'm not saying we shouldn't help them. We should have. My military or my foreign policy, if I were president, would be: we have our friends, and we're going to go to bat for you. Everybody else can suck it. Like, it's weird, but we are very in bed with Israel, and it doesn't really make sense why.
Was that a pun, Josh? Were you like trying to imply why we're on such good terms with Israel is because they do have dirt on all of our politicians being in bed with people? I don't think it would be Jeffrey.
What other explanation?
I don't think it's Jeffrey Epstein.
What is it?
There's a very easy explanation. There's a very strong, powerful Jewish lobby in the United States. If you say anything anti-Israel in the U.S., you've just lost mega donors. It's political suicide. Yeah, so it's a money thing. It's just a straight up money thing.
There's been truth to that since World War II.
For sure. Yep.
I totally agree. And that's a big part of it.
But the timing on this one.
I'm not saying we solely went to war because of something in the Epstein file, like, they've got a picture of Trump doing something weird, right? Like, I don't think that's. I agree, Ryan. There's a whole bunch of factors, right? And I'm just saying, like, it would appear that in many ways Israel has that. That's what I was trying to say. It would appear that Israel has leverage on us in many different ways, right? The large lobby and lots of Congress, people that have Jewish connections or are Jewish, and like, and that. But like the Epstein seems like just maybe another one. I don't know, right? I am speculating, but.
Well, here's a good example of this. Like, I've been a big Ben Shapiro fan. You guys know who Ben Shapiro is, right? Yeah. Brilliant guy, and I liked how he started this grassroots kind of company to be conservative, and he's like one of the best debaters of all time. He's just really smart. He's been completely unhinged when it comes to Israel. Like, he's fired employees over it. He's super pro-Israel. Anything. Like, he's been critical of Trump on several issues. Right now, Trump's his guy because he's fighting the good fight and he's pro. Like, but he's American, right? He's incredibly biased. Incredibly biased. It makes it hard for me to take anything he says.
He's Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not all Jews are pro-Israel.
No, yeah. But he's very powerful. He's very persuasive. He has a large following. A lot of people listen to what he's saying. He has what's the word I'm looking for? An imbalance what's the word I'm looking for? Too much political persuasion for who he is and what he's doing. And
disproportionate.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Tom. It's interesting. That's just an example of this Jewish lobby. Even though he's not technically part of the Jewish lobby, he's fired people when the Jews started wiping out the Palestinians in Gaza. Candace Owens, who's now gone crazy, she worked for him at the time, and she was just like, this is not good. They're being a little too brutal. He lost his crap on her and fired her because that's all she said. Like, okay, it's interesting to see these people in power in the United States that kind of have divided loyalties. It's odd. It's odd to me. I don't like it.
Hmm.
Well, okay.
So the fun part is now we're going to get classified as anti-Semitic by the Anti-Defamation League, thanks to Josh saying something mildly critical of Israel.
Well, it's not even of Israel. It's of Ben Shapiro. I like Israel.
Okay.
Like, I'm a fan
We're
of
in
Jews.
trouble. Oh
I'm
no.
okay. I'm following back. I'm going back to one of my first questions was, and then we brought up the point of supporting the uprising in Iran. And Josh, Ryan, did you say you would support the CIA giving the supporters guns and arms? Like you posed the question, but I wanted to hear you answer it.
So if at some level, I'm not entirely disagreeing with something that Josh said, right? I'm mostly agreeing with something Josh said, which is one, regime change is always difficult, and two, when we lop the head off of some group, right, there's always these different people who rise up. And I don't know that that would be any more effective if we kind of armed the protesters, right? But it would be them doing it instead of us, right? So if the protesters had managed to topple Khameini, right, Ali Khameini, if they had done it, and then said, what we really want is democracy, right? Now, we did, just to be clear, like the US did get rid of Iran's last democracy. So, like, we own that, right? We did that. So we need to recognize, like, we're a very horrific country.
This is a result of our doing. Yeah.
Yes, like we caused all of this, right? Like, this is another one where it's biting us in the ass what we did.
That went weird. That went weird on us again.
Turns out regime change doesn't seem to work for us, right?
It's like there's not a single historian that the government consults for anything. I have a good idea, guys. I just made up this term. It's called regime change. We're going to be the first ones to try it.
Yeah, we've never done this before. Anyway, if we let them do it, and we were generally like, again, as long as they're not chanting death to America or, eradicate Israel, it was like, hey, we just want to kind of be left alone and we're going to do our thing. And we were okay with it, right? I think that would be a much better outcome than us bombing the crap out of the country, destroying a lot of their infrastructure, and then not having a succession plan in place, right? Like that's the current status, is like we lopped off the head of the snake and turns out it's probably a hydra, right? So now all of these little militant, mini dictators are probably going to pop up, and we're going to have some fighting in between on like who's going to take over. Maybe it's Khamenei's son, right? That's kind of the top kind of choice right now.
He'll get a missile right up the butt too.
Well, exactly,
Guaranteed.
right? So we just keep lopping the heads off, but it's going to turn into a hydra, right? And what happens with hydras? It's the same thing that happened in Libya, right? We're right back to a Libya situation where we have a whole bunch of kind of people rising up, militants. It's probably going to be members of the military, right? Because they have access to the weapons, and they're going to end up fighting over this, and we're going to ultimately destroy the country.
Well, maybe that's the goal, honestly, because is Libya a threat to us? When you have these dirt poor countries that are being run by warlords, they're only a threat to themselves. They're not going to organize any kind of threat to their neighbors or to us. So maybe that is the goal.
At some level, like, I appreciate what you're saying, but don't we like care about people?
Well, I do. It doesn't mean that our politicians do.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to move on to Ryan kind of put in, like, I want to do like what predictions of where this is going to go. And Ryan's saying that it's going to keep splitting into Hydra heads, right? And you're maybe implying that maybe the state will be broken up and that will kind of like divide up on itself. Is that maybe what you're implying?
It's certainly possible.
Okay. Anything else? And then I want to hear from Josh. Like, where is this? Where do you predict it's going to go?
What else would I say? It's tricky, right? Right now, if we can take Trump at his word, he has no succession plans. I don't think Israel really necessarily cares. They just want to see them dramatically weakened and wiped out, right? So if they can wipe out their military, so Iran is no longer a threat and they can't fund Hezbollah and all of these other militant groups that are surrounding them, they'll be delighted by that. I don't think they care if Iran is left in shambles. So what that makes me think, right? probably the most likely scenario is we attack and attack and attack, right? We kind of leave the country in shambles. And then you know who I think is going to step in and actually help them rebuild? China.
Oh, maybe.
China is going to get somebody in power who's really sympathetic to China. Because we're not doing anything about it. China's going to step in and be like, "Wow, your infrastructure is destroyed. Guess who can help you rebuild it? We just need you to put in somebody who's actually sympathetic to us." And Iran is already allies with China, right?
Yeah,
They send them
like
most
they
of their
already
oil.
are. Yeah.
So I think this is basically going to become an even more pro-China regime.
You may be right.
That's a good prediction.
But it was the Ayatollah and his regime that was allied with China, right? Two things. How long it takes us to wrap up military operations and whether or not we put the boots on the ground, that's really going to decide a big part of this. If we can be done here soon, and Trump said, he's treating this like it's a real estate development, and we're ahead of schedule on this. We got people ready to move in.
Say this could be
crazy.
This could be weeks longer.
Well,
he did just say that we could be more, weeks longer in this attack.
I don't think it's smart when you're in a military operation to put a timeline on it. But if we are into this more than 2 months, I think that's a failure. I mean, maybe 3 months, but around that time frame. If we're into it longer than that, support for this, on the home front is going to die dramatically. That's always how that works. But I think it's quite possible for us to wipe out the current regime, wipe out their military capability, wipe out their missile production and their nuclear production pretty quickly, and then just step back and say, okay, if you guys need some help, it depends on who you nominate to clean this mess up. Maybe we can help you, but job's done. If we put boots on the ground and try to organize a regime change, we're boned, and we've just created another Iraq and Afghanistan. As for the China thing, honestly, I think that was a big part of the calculus for Trump to go in. He's taking out China's allies. He just took out Venezuela. Russia's mired in a quagmire of a war that I think Trump's happy with because it's bleeding Russia. So they're not currently a threat to us. And now he's just taken out Iran. These are all of China's biggest allies, and they've all been incredibly weakened. On that geopolitical front, this is kind of genius if that's what he's doing, because China is situating themselves to go to war with us. Like, that's what they're doing. And I wouldn't be super surprised if we started sending carrier groups once we're done in Iran. We might be staging some ships over there.
That's a terrible idea.
War might not be that far off. This is what China is mustering for. So this does weaken China. A lot of Iran's oil went to China.
Goes to China.
This is not a bad move if we're worried about weakening China. We probably should be, because that's probably how World War III is going to get kicked off.
I did read something that supported that, Josh, that was like, if you think, and this is sort of the counter argument, it was like, if you think is like America is this puppet for Israel, then you don't understand like the motivations and how the U.S. has been positioning itself against China, right? And like, and they're saying that this is part of it, and so and on its head, that kind of does make sense, right? It's like, main supplier of oil and an ally, right, of China. So he's trying to isolate China, right?
Which she's pretty effectively done. Like, if that's the goal, I'm sorry, right? Hats off to Trump.
Impressed.
That's impressive. If
that's actually the goal, that's impressive. I cannot imagine Trump playing the long game. If he's got people around him who are smart enough to do this, again, props to him. But I can't imagine that's the case. He put a bunch of sycophants in power.
But it sure looks like that's what he's done. Like, that's what he's accomplished. He just took out Venezuela and Iran.
Yeah, I think he's looking at easy victories to distract everybody from the Epstein files.
Possible too. I'm not going to discount that.
All right,
but two things can be true at the same time.
They can.
Okay, Josh, prediction. What is the prediction?
Failed regime. I think the most likely scenario. I think
easy guess given the history of what's happened in the past. Come on,
Yes,
give us a
but
little bit more than
historical.
I believe the United States military has learned from Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't think we're going to put boots on the ground.
I'll take that bet.
Okay. Steak dinner or brocados.
Brocados.
Incredibly politically not unpopular, right?
Yeah, if we put boots on the ground, it might be like military advisors. If we start sending over,
dude, no, that's still steak for me.
Oh, no. Like boots on the ground means like battalions of Marines or infantry, right? To like keep the peace and that kind of stuff.
If it's just some like Ukraine,
he's way out
Ukraine,
of a steak
dinner. Yeah, like it might be Ukraine. Like I hope we help them rebuild. I really do. Like
we're not going to.
We might not, but if we help them rebuild, it should be civilian contractors, not boots on the ground. That's a different thing. But I think we've learned from the past. Sorry, Tom, I'm rambling here. I think we've learned from the past. I don't think we put boots on the ground, and it's probably going to be a failed regime change in Iran is probably going to turn into another one of these hellscapes over there in that region.
Saying like Libya, it's going to turn into Libya.
Probably.
Interesting.
I think you'll see. I mean, we just talked about the Kurds are probably going to move in. You'll probably have some clerics take power. That's probably what'll happen.
Tom, what's your guess?
Well, the read on it was that, and I don't know if this is like, I don't know. I just was reading some art, just like headlines, but it was that the Kurds had pledged allegiance to the U.S. Because Kurds have their own agenda.
Yeah, right? That would be long shot.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, right. But like, that's an interesting idea. Anyway, let's see. Okay, because failed state. Oh man, both of your predictions are really good because I could see both. China's got interest in trying to get someone in there, and but I could see it completely breaking up in like a Libya. I don't know. I really don't know. And then I think Israel would be motivated. I'm trying to think what Israel wants. Israel would want it to become a Libya, I think, because if it's just internal conflict, then that's a win for them. And I'm going to guess Israel will get their way. Is what I'm going to. That's the horse I would put money on. So
just for fun, I just pulled up Kalshi, one of the betting markets. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these, right?
Yeah.
It's like prediction markets. They didn't have like an actual outcome on Iran. That would be amazing. But they do have who's going to be the next supreme leader of Iran. And Moshtaba Khameini, who's the son of Ali Khameini, who was just killed. He's at 60% chance.
He's the only one left. Everybody else.
Yeah, everyone else like dropped to zero.
Like the guy in second place is probably like the president of sanitation for Tehran or something like that. They've killed everybody else.
It's funny. Up until the war started, position abolished was polling at 60%.
Oh,
so
really?
That was an option. That it was like they're just going to get rid of.
They're going to become
the supreme leader.
Yeah,
and that has now plummeted to like 5%.
Oh, wow. So basically, the markets are betting they're
going to put in Khomeini's son.
And it's going to remain like a
dictatorship.
Well, it's a theocracy in a sense.
Yep. I don't see Israel allowing that. I think they'll just keep shooting missiles at whoever the leader is until they change to a different form of government.
Well, that's my thought. A Libya, which is not a form of government. It's I don't know. It's anarchy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess is and this is what I was thinking through when we were talking tonight. Is like the idea of like I just going to keep blowing you up until I get the result I want. Is you run the risk of it, the state dissolving and it breaking into like warlord states, right? And so, and then it is right. Like a hydra, right?
That might be what Israel wants. That might be what the U.S. wants. Well, we don't talk about Libya anymore.
Because you can negotiate with Iran, you can't negotiate with all these like groups, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. And like, is that a problem? A small warlord group is not going to be like sponsoring terrorism in other parts of the world, right? They're going to be just worried about their own thing. So like from
they're not going to be
a U.S. interest point of view, maybe that's what they want. I don't know.
They're not going to be exporting, in a sophisticated manner, a lot of oil to China. Warlords aren't capable of that. So maybe this is what the U.S. wants.
No, the warlords are capable of that. Yeah,
well,
they can do that.
Probably making oil, but like I know Iran was creating a lot of drones and some other weapons that they were giving to Russia and supplying to China. So I don't know. We'll see. That'll be interesting.
Oh, the original question, I don't know that it was answered. Was this a good thing?
Oh, is this a good thing?
Are you pro this, Tom? Or are you anti this war?
Okay. So remember I'm like, so Ryan, we talked a few, I don't know, over the last few months, and you're like, what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, I think it's all going to go to crap. And you're like, you say that every time. And I'm like,
you do say that every
time. So far, I think I'm pretty accurate. It's going to, we're hastening.
It never happens as fast as you say it's going to, but it does always trend in that direction.
Yeah. We're seeing. I don't know. It's like I feel like the world is working towards some type of climactic, some kind of climax. Second coming of some great leader or something like that.
Weird. Oh, and it's almost like this book that
and you guys were saying we've not entered into a holy war. Come on.
Well, what does that book predict?
You literally
the United
just said
States
this is a holy
and
war.
Israel will fight the entire world. That's kind of what that book predicts. Weird.
I did. Well, while we were talking, I was looking up the location of Armageddon, but it's
Megiddo is where
it's in Israel. Yeah,
in Israel.
I was just seeing if there was any. Yeah, but I was like,
armies are going to descend. Christ will show up. Mountain splits open. People stop fighting. It's going to be a good day, but it's going to suck until then.
Okay, so I want to know specifically, and I want our listeners to follow up on this. How do I get my steak dinner from Josh? What are the criteria? Because you said boots on the ground, and then you're like, well, but military advisors is not boots on the ground. I'm talking about like a Marine battalion. What's the cutoff for my steak dinner?
Well, if we send like some Navy SEALs over who are like trying to train the new troops to establish law and order, I'm okay with that. But if we're the ones trying to establish law and order, I'm not okay with that. That's my problem.
And you're okay if military equipment is sent over there, as long as the
not really
Iranians are running it. That's not boots on the ground either.
I don't think we should send. I don't think we should. I think we should send civilian contractors to help rebuild infrastructure. But if we have troops there, like walking around with guns, trying to police the state,
anything that looks remotely like Iraq.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we just have some military personnel trying to, hey, this is how you build an outhouse. That's okay. I hope we rebuild. I hope we help them rebuild.
I would be surprised if we did an Iraqi style recovery. Yeah, but who knows? I don't think you're getting your steak dinner, Ryan.
We're gonna put boots on the ground.
Oh, really? That's your prediction?
Oh yeah.
Well, he just wants to steak dinner. It'll be Ryan's boots. He'll show up with a gun. I'm getting that steak.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna put. What is the time frame for this? And are you going to give a steak dinner to? Does Josh get a steak dinner if it doesn't happen?
No. I think I get a steak dinner for two possibilities. If this goes more than 3 months, right?
What?
No. What? Josh already said if it goes more than 3 months, this has failed.
I didn't bet a steak dinner on that.
What? We're still.
That was my criteria.
If we're still bombing them and attacking them in 3 months, Josh has said this is a failed attack. So I think I get a steak dinner
just because that would be fun.
I get,
but I'm not betting on that.
I get brocados for that one. And if we put boots on the ground, in the next 6 months, right? And by boots on the ground, we mean somebody's actually like going in to invade, something like that. Sure. If it's special forces attacking, not training, attacking, boots on the ground, that's a steak dinner.
And if it's not, you are going to give a steak dinner.
Yeah. I'll pay up.
All right, you got to put that in the comments so that like we remember that this is put in here.
Okay,
6 months.
That. And yeah. Tom gets his steak either way.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'll just all three go to dinner.
Okay.
Ryan, I didn't get your answer. Was this a good idea or bad idea to go to war with Iran?
I'm gonna have somewhat mixed feelings, but I think I would lean bad. But again, it's mixed, right? It's like 60-40 bad. So it's not like 99% bad. They were a brutal regime, 100%, right? I'm absolutely on board with like they're a brutal regime. I think why I lean towards bad is two reasons. This is what Israel wanted. Why are we doing their bidding, right? And what's the plan?
It's such a liberal anti-Trump answer. Just because the other side did it means it's bad.
No,
Israel liked it, so it's bad.
No. It's why are we doing what they want instead of what is in the best interest of the United States and the best interest of people generally, right? So how is this in the best interest of the United States? Trump has not made that clear. There's no clarification for why we did this. And two, what's the plan? Right? We all just talked about this. None of us proposed a good outcome.
No, I'll agree with you there. I don't know what the plan is. I disagree with you on the other part. When you have a whole nation chanting "Death to America," I think the impetus is pretty obvious.
No, I don't think that means we attack them. So, because again, Josh, how often have we succeeded at regime changes?
Well, if these guys, I mean, I agree. I brought it up. I don't know why you're laughing.
I know.
But it might not be about regime change. It might be just get rid of this regime because they are a threat. We don't like them. Like,
thank you, ChatGPT. You're absolutely right. We've succeeded at every single one of the regime changes because we got rid of the existing government.
Well, by that calculus, we're pretty dang good at this.
Successful.
We are so good.
All right. All right. Well, we got some bets in place, and we're gonna see how this goes. We are monitoring the situation, and are gonna see where we go from here.
Can I sum up? Sorry, Tom.
Everyone's really optimistic about
it. I'm gonna be the opposite of Ryan. He was 60-40 leaning towards bad. I'm 60-40 good because I don't know if this was a good thing. My brain always comes back. My bar is what would Jesus do? Would Jesus go and wipe out this brutal regime? Probably not. I don't know that he would. He in his second coming, he's going to do that kind of stuff. But when he was here, I don't know that he would. That being said, probably it just makes sense from a military perspective to wipe out people that are building up to hurt you. That just kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, I'll just be the opposite of Ryan just for the sake of the podcast. I'll 60-40 good if he's 60-40 bad. Just to spite Ryan. Take us home, Tom.
Well, you heard it there, folks. That's Iran. That's Iran situation. We got our top experts weighing in.
And nobody knows if it was good or bad. We're a very decisive group tonight.
Well, here's the thing. I actually trust your guys' opinion than any other expert that I hear out there that's like predicting like how things are going to go. I'm like, everything you guys have said, like that's probably pretty accurate. One of these.
Isn't it interesting how all of the talking heads out there are like so pro or so against? Like it's almost like there's no room for nuance out there.
Well,
and it's weird to me.
It's hard to trust anyone, right? There's so many different, like some are agendas or, either from an ideological point of view or even maybe like paid pundits, right? And stuff like that. It's just such a mess. You're like, whatever. But all right, that was good episode. And we will talk to you guys again next time. Thanks.
Peace.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.